Hi, everyone, and welcome. It's Holly Noon on the show, so please understand if you're new to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button below, turn on those notifications. And today, I'm very lucky to have a special guest, Queen Quet from the GullahGeechee Nation. And yeah, let's get started. So, Queen Quet, tell us, you're the chieftess of the GullahGeechee Nation. And for those of our audience who have never heard of the GullahGeechee Nation, what is it? Where can we find it? What's the historical relevance for those who don't know?
Well, thank you, Holly, for having me with Hona and thing like that, especially for Black History Month. That one, plenty of people will find we, other rest of people throughout the African diaspora and thing like that. And usually the way they know they don't get to anything like that, because yeah, we the cracky teeth so and they go, huh? Okay, so a lot of people don't even realize that they have found the Gullah Geechee Nation or anyone who's a native Gullah Geechee until they hear us speaking our language, which is the Gullah language. And so our language is the amalgamation of numerous African languages and dialects, and then a sprinkling of what one would say was Elizabethan English, because the Gullah Geechee Nation started during chattel enslavement. There were some of our ancestors that were here in the 1500s, but there became an abundance of Africans brought to the Sea Islands between Jacksonville, North Carolina, and Jacksonville, Florida, during chattel slavery or the transatlantic slave trade. So between 1670 and forward, you had this blending of African traditions in what is now the Gullah Geechee Nation, which goes from Jacksonville to Jacksonville and then 35 miles inland to the St. Johns River. So a lot of times when people get here, they're like, oh, well, who are the people? They have a different way they talk. I didn't understand them, right? Because we've been throw them down like this, anything like that, because that's the way we mother tongue, all right? And so that is our mother tongue, which is Gullah. We have a dialect of the Gullah language, which is Geechee, and the people ourselves are called Gullah Geechee. And so we have indigenous ancestry and African ancestry.
Oh, very cool. So, is there still many people back living in the islands, or have many people moved away? Is there still a community?
Well, that's a 50. Oh, there's definitely still there's multiple communities within
Ah,
any
okay.
nation.
Okay.
So yes, so throughout the Gullah Geechee Nation, you have different communities because we have a whole chain of sea islands.
Okay.
Literally, we live in the Atlantic Ocean. Then you have the mainland areas referred to as the Low Country, the
Okay.
Georgia Isles, the Coastal Empire, Northeastern Florida. All those terms are still
Ah,
here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. So fortunately, not everyone's grandparents or parents migrated out during the Black migration. And
okay.
even some that did, they returned home. Now, the
Okay.
issue is whether or not they're still acculturated and acclimated to living Gullah Geechee traditions. And
I see.
that's the difference. So you'll hear me a lot of times say Gullah Geechee traditionalists, or those of us who hold the tradition,
Ah,
meaning we still live from the land, the sea. It's still a cracky teeth like this and thing like that. It's still a guine for show and thing like that, and
yes.
others who were born and raised in urban areas because they migrated or their parents took them away when they were younger. They don't necessarily know the traditions. And when they get back, they want to reconnect. Like, especially if they hear people in the
Okay.
community talk and they go, hey, that's familiar. You sound like grandma, and they're like, but I don't know how to do that, then they always are more intrigued and they're like, well, I want to do that now. I want to know what that is. And it's a good thing because before people felt like you shouldn't do it. Like it was you were
Yep.
backward, you were ignorant, you shouldn't do that. You should want to get away from it. And now, because of the past 40 years of my life pushing and fighting and leading this movement so people knew we exist, we're still here. We still there. Like we say, we the binya, we in the guina, we're tall, tall.
Okay. No, that's great because I know we were talking before I turned on the recording, but you know, when I first asked if there was anybody connected to the Gullah Geechee Nation, there were people who were like, well, my grandmother, but she left when she was 5. And it was really hard for me to kind of like find people who hadn't left and were even still connected. So after some messaging and we were able to locate you, I mean, people just said like, I think I'm Gullah. I'm not sure. I have family members.
Right.
ways for people to kind of trace their
Mm-hmm.
history back to the Gullah Geechee Nation if they're not sure or.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, and in fact, just before I got on the air with you, that was one of the things I was kept looking at the time because I had the usual plethora of emails like that, where it
Oh,
was people who now have come across Gullah Geechee TV and seen some of my shows, or they found
hmm.
us on Twitter at Gullah Geechee or on Facebook, the Gullah Geechee Nation. And now they're like, wait a minute, I've been looking for this. I think I think based on looking at some of the stuff, I might be Gullah Geechee. I'm not sure. I'm doing
Oh,
genealogy, or my dad told me before he passed we were Geechee, but I didn't know what he meant. Now I found y'all's page. Could you help me? So I just was fielding some requests like that and actually connecting people to people that are likely their family, you know.
wow.
And
Okay.
so the best resource is always finding the oldest person you can find in the
Okay.
family
Okay.
and see if you can sit down with that person. Sometimes they won't talk because they might have had some type of traumatizing experience, like
Hmm.
being beaten for just speaking their own language, and being told they weren't going to be anything because they spoke Gullah Geechee. So they kind of have a Pavlov's dog response. Like every time you mention, it's like they flinch because they were traumatized because
I
people were
see.
told, bad things about their own selves. And so they might be in their 80s, their 90s, even hundreds, folks in the Gullah Geechee Nation live to be over 100. And they might not want to talk to you, or they might not want to talk to you because they don't know what you're going to do with the information. They think you're just going to go sell it or now put it on the internet just for other people to steal it. So they don't want to tell younger people much of anything. So,
I
but
see.
if you can at least get them to say, well, would you tell us where we were originally from? Like, even if you're in Florida now, they're likely going to say to you, we weren't from Florida. I mean, like our parents or grandparents migrated to Florida, but we were from Georgia or we were from the
I
Carolinas.
see.
Then, if you can find out a little bit more, if they still remember exactly where their parents or grandparents were from in those places, and we get a county, we can start connecting you. We can tell you whether that's really in the Gullah Geechee Nation or it's not, because
Okay.
people also use Geechee like a slang to say, oh, that's a backward, ignorant country rice eater, which is not what it is. It's an ethnic group and it connects us back to the Geechee people of West Africa, just like Gullah connects us back to Angola and the Gullah people of West Africa. But people turned it around as a weapon against us, and
Mhm.
so a lot of people were traumatized by that. So a lot of
I
elders won't
see.
talk to you. But if you can get them to give you just that much information, where's the county and the state that we were from, and you email our office, we usually can then tell you another step to take and making that reconnection for sure. But it's always about connecting to the people. Connect to the people. Don't think social media is the one giving you the facts. It's not.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know because I know social media is that go-to for information
Yeah.
for a lot of people nowadays. So
Mhm.
you can share 5 facts about the Gullah Geechee Nation that people maybe don't know about. Just things that you'd like to share that originate with the Gullah Geechee Nation
Sure.
you don't realize.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's great. I like that question. 5 facts. So let's start at the top. I never got asked it this way before.
Mhm.
So let's do it this way. Number one, the Gullah Geechee Nation is a nation like other nations in the world. Number two, that means that Gullah Geechee citizens, we're not members because it's not an organization, Gullah Geechee citizens have dual citizenship in the United States and in the Gullah Geechee Nation. The
Wow.
Gullah Geechee Nation elected a head of state, spokesperson, and queen mother. That is Queen Quet, Chieftess of the Gullah Geechee Nation. The election took place from 1999 to July 2nd, 2000, and was confirmed before international parties and the United States federal government at Sullivan's Island, South Carolina. That's a long fact, but it's a fact. But number three, I'm Queen Quet, by the way. And uh, number four, the Gullah Geechee Nation extends from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. It encompasses all of the Sea Islands and 30 to 35 miles inland to the St. Johns River. And number five, The GullahGeechee Nation has its own constitution that has its own
Oh,
body of government. So Queen Quet is the head pun the body. Okay.
mhm.
There's a right hand called the Wisdom Circle Council of Elders, and there's a left hand, which is the Assembly of Representatives. All the other citizens make up the rest of the body. That's why I was elected the head pun the body of the GullahGeechee Nation. And then, as a fact, there's only one flag for the GullahGeechee Nation in the world, and that's this flag that you see here, because
Okay.
we see also it's emerging on social media that have people confused. There's no new flag. There's only
Okay.
one flag like every other nation has. Yes.
Okay. So you heard it here. You
I
heard
threw
it
a little six one. I threw in a bonus one.
here. You
A
heard it
bonus.
here. Only one
Yes.
flag. Okay.
Yes, one
No, that's
flag,
good to
one
know.
nation. And while we talk about the flag, let me just mention this because I love things done in seven. So let's take this as your
Okay.
seventh fact.
Let's go.
Okay. The fact is the Gullah Geechee Nation circle, in the center of it, you see a tree. That
Mhm.
tree is human bodies intertwined. It represents all of those African ethnic groups, the Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gola, Gizi, Mendi, Temni, Fiki, Bibio, and then the indigenous Kusabo, Yemisi, Adisto, Cree, and all of those that make up our ancestors. We are inextricably tied to them. They are inextricably tied in us through our DNA, and we are rooted in this soil of this coast. Our culture is indigenous to this coast. Our flag represents that through the colors of the blue for the indigo, the green for the land, the gold for us being it being a brighter day, but also because we are black gold and we're richness that grew the Carolina gold and the indigo and the Sea Island cotton here. And so it's not just a symbol, it's truly a banner of who we be, that we be Gullah Geechee anointed people.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. No, and that's this is why this is just so important because I just wish more people knew about the culture and the fact that the interconnectedness still back to Africa, even though we are here, like in America.
Mhm,
I think that's so important
mhm.
that we touch on
Absolutely.
those
And your show
ties.
is going to help them. So you don't have to just say you wish. Now
Oh
you helping people
my God,
know, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is exciting. So as the
Mhm,
chiefess, what are some of
mhm.
your responsibilities, for the nation?
Oh yeah. Well, do how is this how many hours long? Are we going to talk? So, but I'll give you maybe the top three things that I have to do on a consistent basis. I
Okay.
represent the Gullah Geechee Nation at the United Nations. I
Okay.
go there back and forth. If it wasn't a pandemic, I probably would have already been in a few UN meetings and face to face, but I'm yet and still doing those things virtually. I also have to deal with different intergovernment discussions and interactions and negotiations. So with other governments of the world, especially a lot of times with the US government, that's something that I'm greatly involved in on a regular basis. I'm with you today with your show, and I'm closing Black History Month on Friday with the U.S. federal government. They've
Okay.
asked me to be part of the special Black History Month program. And so a lot of my work is also education, and what I'd say to people, edutainment, because of just what your show is about, to really uplift our people and make our culture accessible to those who weren't told about it. They've never read about us. They aren't aware we exist. And so that those are some of my major responsibilities as a political leader, and then also just in general to make sure that the world as a spokesperson, they hear who we are and things like that.
Okay. And so do you guys have festival? Well, I know it's the pandemic right now, and I was researching that you guys used to have festivals like open to the public for people to
Yeah,
come in and learn about the
the
culture.
culture.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every month of the year, excluding January and December, we have a festival in the Gullah Geechee Nation.
Okay.
Now, a lot of those festivals are very commercial now. They're
Oh,
not really presenting the culture. They just have a whole hodgepodge of African diasporic performances and other things because they just want to cater to tourism dollars. But people then come and they're disappointed by that. So the Gullah Geechee Nation International Music and Movement Festival, we have every year, even in the pandemic, we did it
okay.
virtually.
Okay.
And yeah, and we even started up the Gullah Geechee Freedom Fest. And so if people go to Gullah Geechee TV, they can still find those shows that we did, those festivals we did, even during the pandemic. And we're going to do our festival virtually again this year, so that people are more educated about us and they can engage with us this way until it's safe to engage with us face to
Yeah.
face, again. And so because we did anything like that, and we want people still to celebrate who we be. And so that's been the adjustment, but we haven't
Right.
stopped celebrating. It's a blessing to still be here.
Oh, that's great. And so, what resources would you recommend our audience seek out if they wanted to learn more? So, even outside of like just coming, visiting the islands, are there you would recommend? I know you have your
Yeah,
YouTube channel.
yeah, absolutely. If they go to GullahGeechee as Gullah is spelled Gullah. Geechee is Geechee, and a no I in Geechee if it a we. Okay, so GullahGeechee If you
Mhm.
go there, you can click on multiple links. So you can go
Okay.
to our Gullah Geechee TV channel you mentioned. You can find Gullah Geechee Rhythm Radio there. You can find GullahGeechee.biz, where
Okay.
we have books and craft items and other things, and all the money from those items go right back into the work of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. They can go
Okay.
to Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition's page from the Gullah Geechee Nation page, or go to GullahGeechee.net. And so we have listings of various things. Once you get to that site, there's a box, a search box. So let's say you want restaurants and you type in restaurants, you'll see all the
Oh,
native owned, authentically owned Gullah Geechee restaurants. If you look farms, you'll find a page that'll come up where we blogged about here are the ones that are actually owned by us, not
I see.
something that someone else thought it was quaint or wanted to
Mhm.
exploit tourists by putting the name Gullah or Geechee on their sign, but that's not a native person that owns that place. And so we always promote what is native, what the indigenous
Okay.
people here have, so that you really know. And then they can always follow us, because some people, even though we're talking about social media, that's all some people do nowadays, is just
Yes.
on the phone, on their
Listen.
social media constantly. So if they're gonna do it, we are at Gullah Geechee on Twitter, at Gullah Geechee on Instagram, but most of all, I would say follow the Gullah Geechee Nation Facebook fan page,
Okay.
because we get to post entire videos like your show. Once it
Okay.
airs, we're going to be reposting it, and
Okay.
then people can keep up, and then they can ask questions and dialogue, and a lot of times connect with native Gullah Geechees too.
Yeah, that's important. So in the islands, because isn't Hilton Head very close uh, to the community? And I think I was researching that they were kind of, as they were building and buying the land, I know that was becoming an issue like for the community. And I think just kind of like just being able to distinguish between like what is actually native versus people using it for like tourism. So I think that's,
Right.
you guys actually have a resource to
Yeah, absolutely.
distinguish.
Yeah. Yeah, to separate those two things and make a distinction. Yeah, Hilton Head is actually in the same county that I am in, Beaufort County, South Carolina. So
Okay.
I live on St. Helena Island, which remains 90% plus Gullah Geechee owned and operated.
Oh
Hilton
wow.
Head was a twin to the Gullah Geechee, to St. Helena Island in the Gullah Geechee Nation, until what I call destructionment ensued. So once they got a bridge to Hilton Head and they started building the first gated areas there, it became a proliferation of gated areas, golf courses, retirement areas all over the island. So it's a very commercial place. It's known
Okay.
worldwide because of golfing, but now they've displaced most of the natives off that island. The last count I heard was the population there was 10% people of color, which doesn't mean Gullah Geechee. Gullah
Wow.
Geechees were only about half of that number. And so that means a massive displacement that happened over the past 50 years, because roughly 50 to 60 years ago is when they got their first gated area on Hilton Head. And so, although people, and that's the thing, a lot of people come to Beaufort County, go to Hilton Head, realize when they get there, oh, I want local food, and somehow mention Gullah Geechee, or they'll be in a fair and they'll say Gullah something at the library or somewhere, and then they'll rush there, and it's Anglo people doing the presentations. It's
Mhm.
not. us doing the
Yeah,
presentations. It's people who studied us, have researched us, who made
I
the
see.
brochure, and they have pictures of us or pictures of baskets on it. Because I had to tell one group, remove my picture from your brochure. They had no permission,
Wow.
no rights, and they had my picture from a previous celebration from some years before, put it all over their advertising. So a bunch of people brought even buses to this event they were doing. I wasn't part of that event,
Oh
but
my
they had used my
God.
image so that they could draw people there. And so, we have very, very few native Gullah Geechees that have businesses owned and operated on Hilton Head. So a lot of times people get to Hilton Head and they talk to the people who are checking, valeting their cars, cleaning their hotel rooms, and cooking their food. They go, do you know what a Gullah Geechee did? Yeah, you need for left off here and go and tell them. You need to go on over there. So then they'll
Oh,
drive
okay.
45 minutes and end up on St. Helena so they can get an authentic Gullah Geechee experience, not the built experience. So there's
Okay. Good to know.
an area there now that's kind of setting up what I call a Colonial Williamsburg version of Gullah Geechee is being built on Hilton Head
Mhm.
now. And people are so they can try to keep the black tourists, especially on Hilton Head, instead of leaving to come over and really get engaged in the community on St. Helena. Yeah.
That's good.
Because
Now we
unfortunately,
distinguish that.
yeah,
That's not
yeah.
fair, guys. Go to St.
Right, come on over this side instead of
Yes.
going to something somebody just replicated. Come where the people still live the culture for real.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Immersion. Go over to the immerse yourself in the
please, yeah, that's the word. Immersion.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you hope is the legacy you leave behind for the next generation?
The legacy I pray to leave behind for the next generation of not just Gullah Geechees, but Black people worldwide is love for yourself.
Hmm.
And when you love yourself, you'll want to connect to a circle of love. And that circle of love first has to reflect you. So that means when I look at you, Holly, I see me. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Which means that I'm not going to let someone hurt Holly, because if I see me, how do I let them hurt me? You see what
Right.
I'm saying? That we be one, we be Gullah Geechee, that there's one circle, and that circle throughout the African diaspora, throughout the Black world should be unbroken, that we need to protect one another and nurture and care for one another. And I always say to people that all I've tried to do in my lifetime is make the world a better place than it
Mm.
was when I first came in. So that when I leave out, that I pray that my track record will speak for itself and somebody will say, yes, she did that, and that God will say, well done, thy good and faithful servant.
Mm. Yes. So our last question. So we the name of the show is So Please Understand, because it's really not about us. It's always like I always try to think like, what is the bigger picture, and what is like one thing you'd like our audience to take away from this interview about the Gullah Geechee
Mhm.
Nation.
See, I am so happy that you afforded me the opportunity to get your name of your show in here. Because when I heard the title, that your show was called So Please Understand, I said, well, thank you, Guay. Let them children understand. Say, we did ya, we done been ya, and we know Guay, we're tall, and things like that in the Gullah Geechee Nation. And so please understand that whatever Queen Quet says, the slogan of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, Hona must take care of the root for heal the tree, that no matter what your roots are of your culture and your traditions, you got to dig deep to get those. They're not up on the surface. So anything that seems superficial, it likely really is. So please understand that the true one who to live the culture and thing like that, you gonna have to dig deep for find we and thing like that. You ain't gonna just see we out yonder the true way what God give we. Because we know we be Gullah Geechee anointed people. So come to the source and learn the truth.
Oh, thank you so much. And so, just again, if you can drop your Facebook, your YouTube, where people can again go find you. Like, I know I subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Thank,
So,
thank you, ma'am. And I'll be subscribing to yours. Thank you so
okay.
much. Um, yes. So my YouTube channel is GullahGeechee.tv. So again, Gullah is GullahGeechee. Geechee is GeeChee. So GullahGeechee.tv. You can find me at Gullah Geechee on Instagram, Gullah Geechee on Twitter, and GullahGeechee Nation on Facebook. And if Hunter just to look for me, Hunter can go into my page, queenquet.com, and Quet is Quet. And so thank you, Harley. This y'all bless up time. I'm so glad we had a chance to celebrate Black History Month together this your time. But hopefully next time, Rona going by the business and we can did it together and things like that. Maybe meet up in Jacksonville and things like that. Meet up in Jacksonville or Nassauville and get really shout on and have play the red rice or something so we can, sit down and enjoy who we are and things like that. But thank you for letting them folks know. So all the listeners, all the viewers, please understand.
Yes, so please understand. So until next time, everyone, bye.
Peace.